I'm John Shirley, and this is the Movie Raid Show.
It's time for the Movie Raid, and tonight's victim is John Shirley, screenwriter and author of several books of the John Constantine books, as well involvement with The Crow and many other things. Hello.
Hello, Mike.
What have we been up to this year?
Well, this year so far I've been working with Mark Tremonti. Mark's a rock star. That's the simplest way to put it. He was the lead guitarist and co-songwriter of Creed, and then he was the leader of Alter Bridges, both very successful bands. And now he has a project called Tremonti, and he's touring with it right now, and a new album called A Dying Machine. A Dying Machine is a rock opera, and he hired me through my agent to write a novel based on the rock opera. And it's great music. You can find the song A Dying Machine on YouTube. Look for Tremonti and A Dying Machine there, and you can hear that song, and you can tell that it's a science fiction story. We're just finishing that. I've been working on it for a couple of months with him, mostly on the telephone, by email and so on, and I send chapters, and we go over them together. But there is a movie connection. We are taking it out also as a movie project. It's kind of like in the movie selling business, in the script selling business, the project selling business, you can come at it in all these different ways. One of the ways is that you have somebody who has some sort of large reputation, and you dated yourself with them, they with you, and you kind of use that who you know situation to get some doors open. You can picture the project. We're planning to pitch this as a movie, and I would hope to be a screenwriter on it. But that is a peculiar situation. It's not every day that a rock star knocks on your door and says, "Can you write a novel based on my rock opera?" And then later on, we're going to take it out through this major agency, very big agencies associated with. That's kind of an unusual situation. I can't really say, so do that.
Wow.
That's what I've been doing lately. And I've also been touching up a script that I'm going out with of my own, script of my own called Synthetics. And I have a director who's attached to the project who's done various movies, a guy named Tibor Takas. He's done a lot of television movies. He's done the Gate movies, which goes back some years. They were high-quality B science fiction films. It's kind of a cult thing. And he did a movie called Spider, that's just about a giant spider that was distributed. He did various things. He and I are going out together, and that's another case of a partnership helping something happen, and we hope. Synthetics is a science fiction film, relatively inexpensive one, but not super inexpensive. It will probably be a $20 million picture if it gets made. I don't want to really talk about the plot much right now. We're not ready to do that with people outside the business. It has to do with creatures from another world. It has to do with people among us. So it does have something, you could say it is sort of like a body snatcher idea, but not. It's hard to explain. It's a variant on that, except that there's a lot of humor in it. It's one of these things that combines humor and adventure. And the characters are funny, and the heroes. So, yeah, there's this sort of body snatcher film for our new era with some comedy and with some, sort of like those movies, like the guys who did Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, yeah. I love that movie.
And they did that, and they did the one about the alien escaping from Area 51.
Oh, yeah.
What was that called? That was actually a pretty cool movie, I think. It's an underrated science fiction movie. So there's a lot of humor and to go with the scariness and the fiction adventure of it. So it has that kind of flavor to it. That's what Synthetics is going to turn out to be, we hope.
Very nice, very nice. Which one's really the current bigger challenge for you right now?
Getting something considered as a movie is like just me and the director. That's harder. And there's Mark Tremonti has a lot of connection, and he has a great agent working. So that's probably would be easier to set something up, I would think. I think that this is getting a lot of publicity. The Tremonti Dying Machine project is already being talked about in Billboard magazine, including my novels, and on MSN. There's a lot of publicity for it. So that probably has a leg up. It has an advantage.
Now, what kind of working relationship do you have with those when you are working with other, let's say, directors or even other writers, having to bounce back and forth to make a project? Do you prefer to really just kind of do your own stuff, your own solo thing, or is it more tough now to work with these guys? I mean, I understand like everyone's got their own thing, their own ideas, but it can be very difficult to agree on one thing.
Yeah, but see, it's part of the business to work with people. It's part of the business to develop a movie or a television series. I worked on Deep Space Nine for a while. I did an episode of that. I worked in a Fox show called DR5. It didn't last season, but I was a story editor on it. I worked on a show called Poltergeist: The Legacy. It was a syndicated television show, and some other things. All of those things require a committee sort of activity in creating the product. Right? There's just no way around it with this, unless you're maybe Woody Allen. You know, you're somebody like that. You're an auteur. You're a guy who is the director and the writer, and he has a big contract already. You get most anything released. And there are a few people like that. And somebody like James Cameron, for example, of course, he's his own production company. You know, Spielberg has his own company and distribution. And so that's a special case. But most of the rest of us have to work with the people at the studio or at the television show, you know, on the staff. And we have to take notes constantly. The most well-known thing I've done in movies was The Crow, the original The Crow with Brandon Lee. And, you know, I did 4 drafts. First I did a treatment, you know, which was like a pitch on adapting James O'Barr's comic book. And of course, providing copies of the comic and, you know, meeting up with the people, showing them, like, look, this is almost like a storyboard. This could be a movie. I had written the outline. They hired me to write the script and my partner to be the producer with them. Then I had to submit each script, and they gave me notes on the scripts, and then I did another draft, and they gave me notes, and I did another draft, and so on. There was like, I often had to go to a meeting and sit down with these people, and they would talk out what their ideas were and what they thought it was needing and what they didn't like and so on. And there's just no avoiding that group process. There's always at least one other person you have to work with, and it's often a whole, you know, room full of people, like 4, 5 people. It's just pretty much part of the business. And again, if you're Ridley Scott, then you probably have less of that. Although even then, he has to talk to studio people, distributors, and people like that, and they'll often give you notes. And then if he has a big star, or give you notes, you know. Notoriously, what was that movie? Will Smith played the drunken superhero.
Oh, that's Hancock.
And on that, he was apparently, the Will Smith himself was making them rewrite the script over and over again. He kept coming up with ideas to say, no, change it to this, and then he would change that, the next one, and so on. And he had the power to do that because that was in his deal. That was in his contract. And he was a producer as well as a star of the thing. So he had the ability to drive the writers crazy.
Wow.
And I don't know. I understand it didn't work out that well. I never actually saw the picture. Maybe it's good. I don't know.
I liked it.
That's just an example, you know, kind of thing you have to go through. Let's say you made a movie like Paranormal Activities, the original one, right? And you know, found footage. The guy just raised some money and used his credit cards, and he got some good actors, and he knew how to shoot a thing, get some angles. He knew how to edit, and was able to do all that stuff himself. And he made the thing for remarkably little money, less than $100,000. Actually, I think it was less than $50,000. And then they showed it somewhere, and it was just bought. And then they did some titling on it and a few other things, maybe an edit or two, and it went into the theaters. And it's a big success. That can happen. You've got to have a lot of stuff going on in your corner to make that happen. Blair Witch Project was like that, and so on. You know, those things don't discount them. But I have another friend who made a picture recently, more or less the same way, and between you and me and the audience, it was terrible. He didn't find people who could actually act. He didn't really have a very good grasp of editing. Special effects were minimal. You know, the script wasn't very good. You know, it's all the difference in the world, having all of those eggs in that basket.
When it comes to being hired for a writing project, but as you're doing the writing process, do you feel that it's not actually coming from you, even though you're getting hired to do the project? But do you not feel sometimes it's not actually yours, that you're writing for the story, whatever the project is?
Yeah, it becomes that way most of the time. But like I said, let's say you partner with somebody who's shown a lot of talent making a short film. Maybe they got a 10-minute short film that did well at a film festival or something. And they've shown that they can tell a story with images on a screen. They can tell a story, with editing, all of those things. But they also are able to work, with a low budget. You can more or less work with that guy and pretty much control your story as long as he agrees or she agrees to shoot the thing. But that's a special thing. You've got to find those people. You can't just work with the first person you come across unless you're lucky. You've got to go out there and look for somebody with some real talent who wants that, to take that next step. And they have a reel that they can show that demonstrates they have that ability. Those people are out there. Oftentimes there are some good actors who are been a couple of years in a drama program at a college, that's maybe worked in some local theater. And you find people who actually know how to read a line. And you can make things happen without all that oppression, as long as it works. If the thing, when it's finished, works, it works. People, there are a lot of examples. People get carried away, saying, by God, this story works. And they did it for very little money, and these people came out of the blue. That can happen. That's the only way you can control it, unless you become a super famous director. Otherwise, you're just selling your script to somebody, and I'm not saying don't do that. Do that too. And it can be good to do that. It can be bad, or it can be good. Are you selling your script to somebody? You're just going to have to face up to working with people, taking their notes, and letting them pull some of the strings. You're just going to have to accept it in your typical distribution deal.
A lot of films and TV series, they do fail for, some of them fail for a lot of reasons, but do you think one in particular, do you think time management could be a big factor as well?
Well, time management is critical. If you're talking about the time of production rather than pacing in the story.
That, as well as the writing, in between.
Time it takes to get a thing finished and shot and on the screen.
Yes.
If that's what you're talking about, well, that is critical. Yeah, and it comes usually from experience. You can't kind of do it out of the blue very well. A lot of times people take a long time to make their first independent film. But if you're talking about television, yeah, the people involved have to be ready to work in a prolific way. They have to turn out those pages. They have to do the notes quickly. They have to show up at that meeting. Woody Allen said 50% of success is showing up. You got to be there on time and ready. And then you can't whine about, especially if it's television, you can't whine about, I haven't got it finished yet. I can't do this. You're fired. You're gone.
Wow.
And so, and got to have professional people who are used to working under pressure and on schedule in television. That's what they do. They have to have, those props have to be in that studio at the right time. But that's why you use union prop people, and you use who know what they're doing. You can get people outside and get things done. It does happen, and people do shooting in non-union states. But union people are usually going to be more reliable. They'll have a reputation, and you'll know that you can depend on them.
Go ahead and plug in anything that you want to promote, your current projects, as well as any release dates. What else can we expect, and so forth?
Well, the Tremonti thing, that is coming, and his album's coming out in June. He's hoping to do a preliminary printing of the book. That's just like a small printing for his fans and for the album. And then, but it's also being sent to major publishers. And, that'll take probably 6 months maybe, come out as a book. And that's moving pretty quickly for a book. So that's one thing that's happening. And I've got another movie project, or at least a screenplay, called Time Warrior that I did with Stefan Bugaj. That's something we're going to start hitting people with pretty soon. Haven't yet. Bugaj and I worked on at Telltale Games for a while, which, just a well-known video game company. I've done work in video games too.
And there you have it, everybody. That is screenwriter, author John Shirley.